Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the 2024 Detroit ACE Honors. Please give yourselves a hand for being up this early. This morning, we are celebrating creatives who have given 25 years or more of service to Detroit arts. We also are celebrating the 5-year anniversary of Detroit ACE. That's right, I've been working for the mayor for 5 years. When I started, my hair was red. Today, we're also going to release the Quint Report, a compilation of the hundreds of accomplishments that It's Juneteenth 2019 when I was sworn in. Detroit now isn't the Detroit I landed in 2000. It is not the Detroit it was before Mike Duggan was elected mayor in 2013. Detroit now has the nation's best art museum, the nation's best riverfront, the nation's oldest operating aquarium. Yes, the Belle Isle Aquarium will be 120 years old in August, and we'll be helping them to celebrate. It is not just about making sure that Detroit artists have opportunities to be great, but to get them the funding they need, to get them the support they need. And ACE's task from day one has been to help shine a national spotlight on our artists, the spotlight they deserve, something that we've been successfully doing. So today we celebrate a fantastic 5 years. Beginning tomorrow, not literally because I plan to spend a week in bed, but after that, our work begins anew. And we have cemented the city's prowess as a mural city, and we have a quick announcement. I believe we can say that we launched the Detroit Mural Map in 2022, and thanks to our mural hunters and thanks to an amazing creative arts community, we now have 700 murals on the Detroit Mural Map. And you will be able to go and see those, but more importantly, learn about the artists who did them. And I say this all the time. Why do we have a mural map? So people can stop calling me from the corner of Mack and Bewick and say, who did this mural? You can now look on the map, find it, and see for yourself, and most importantly, learn about the artists and commission them if you want your own. I'm proud to say that we are the number 5 city in the nation. I'd love for it to be the world. But beyond fine art, street art, and exhibitions of young and emerging artists, Detroit is also the best at so much. So we're going to begin our season being laser focused this year on the performing arts, on dance. Where's Deborah White Hunt? Yes. There you go. On theater. Where's Detroit Public Theater? And where's Leah from Detroit Rep? Spoken word, lifted up by the city's new poet laureate, Jessica Care Moore. And on music and careers in composing that will be elevated by a new and for the first time in history, composer laureate. And both will work with the city's first official city historian, Jamon Jordan, who has been awesome. And Jamon, please say hello. There he is. Thank you, Baba. So as we celebrate our creative veterans, I want to make sure that you know that this was not easy. The ACE office was launched in 2020 with a big event at Chroma, lots of fanfare, every television station, every newspaper, the radio stations. It was 2 weeks before the pandemic sent us home. But you know that old saying about how Ginger Rogers was better than Fred Astaire because she did everything he did except backwards and in high heels? Well, ACE was not defeated by the pandemic. We rose up while being chased by a virus, and we fought to show that we remain one of the best art cities in the country, even in grief. We installed the city's largest ever arts installation, the Belle Isle Memorial, and while it was born of sadness, its power was pure art. Doing that work and work like that shows our artists that they don't have to look wistfully at other cities like New York or Seattle or Atlanta or Austin and say, God, they want artists there. We want artists here. We want our youth to know that if you're going to learn to be great in Detroit, you need to stay great in Detroit. That's the point of Creativity Takes Courage, which you will see on the cover of the Quint report that you have right on it's my favorite notebook. So your gift is this little notebook that I love, that we bought them for everybody because I love them. But under that, you will see it's a 120-page report on all that we've accomplished in 5 years. I want our young people to see that. I want our artists to see that. I want our potential funders to see that so they know what's possible if we get the funding. I want to make sure you know who our funders are. So you will see as these slides go by that one of them will have our sponsors, the Ford Foundation, the Kresge Foundation, and the Hudson Weber Foundation. I can tell you, Kresge and Ford have carried this office. There would be no office without them. As a matter of fact, Kresge started funding this office before it was an office. They started before I literally created an office. So speaking of partners, I now want to bring up our partner from WDIV-TV Local 4, Bob Ellis. He's the general manager and immediately said yes when I asked if the station would share today's event. As a matter of fact, he said yes before I finished the question. So please welcome Bob Ellis.
Well, I promise to be sincere, be brief, and be seated. So, you know, I think from our perspective, the ability to do what we do, which is bring great programming to audiences, is something that we're committed to. And so, as Rochelle said, when asked to broadcast this morning, certainly I said yes immediately. And really, you thank me, but we should thank you. It's your perseverance. It's your dedication. It's your commitment. 5 years later, we wouldn't be standing in this room if it wasn't for you. And so it's important that we recognize, you know, when Rochelle Riley calls, you listen, right? That's what happens. And so we're very, very happy to be here this morning and very proud and pleased to do this and support the work that you're doing. And so you can count on us to continue to do that in the future. So thank you.
That was very nice. Now, I'm trying to make sure I'm not too verklempt this morning. Now I'd like to introduce you to somebody who is the reason this program is happening this morning. I have one program manager. The ACE office is 2 people. We have temporary people who are doing arts alleys around the city. We have graphic artists that I stole from the mayoral fellowship program. I shouldn't use the word stole. That we kept them on. But the program manager who has done the most to make today happen is a woman named Lacey Holmes. Her background is in theater and retail management and making things successful by any means necessary. So I want to turn this over now to Lacey Holmes.
Good morning, and thank you, Rochelle. What a joy it is to work with artists and supporters of the arts in one of the best cities in America. And I used to work in Chicago. I've only been with the office for 2 years, so when I tell you I get chills reading the Quint report, which Rochelle told you is at your seats, with the notebook, and a program with a bio of all of the artists, believe me, I get chills. Watching a film about the first ACE honors, which we will produce for today's medal winners, got me inspired today. We are celebrating creative veterans who chose to follow their passion because creativity takes courage. It is that kind of courage that led these 5 stars to declare to the world, "This is me." I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me, but look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me.
Another round of bullets hits my skin. So fire away, 'cause today I won't let the shame sink in. We are bursting through the barricade and reach reaching for the stars. Yeah, that's what we become.
I won't let them break me down.
And it won't break me down. Cause I know, yes, I know that we are glorious.
When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a plug, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me.
I'm alone, I never fit the mold. The world is so cold, hold it down on my own. I'm just trying to reach up to the sky, see the moon. I got confidence cause I'm the flyest in the room. And I've been knocked down, but I always get up. I had some fake friends, had to go and switch up. Yeah, no pain, no strain. I ain't chasing all the pain cause I got more to gain and I'm just trying to make a change. I'm just doing me, I'm in my own lane. Fell down a few times, but I'm up again. Marching to another drum, see me cross, see me run. Man, they thought that I was done. No, here I come. I'm not weak, I get on my feet. Yeah, no apologies, yeah, this is me.
When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be, this is me.
Yes, thank you to that quartet from the world-famous Detroit Youth Choir. Directed by Anthony White. And now for our ACE honorees. We begin with a special medal for the Ford Foundation, whose vision and generosity funded the ACE office and made so much of our work possible. Please welcome Kevin Ryan to accept the medal for the Ford Foundation.
We got to get the picture.
Kevin, your glasses game is better than mine. This special medal was last given to the Kresge Foundation, which has also funded the ACE office and its work over the past 5 years. We ask Michelle Johnson from Kresge to please stand and we can give you proper thanks. Ms. Michelle?
They got their medal last year, but we want this picture.
Thank you so much. Our next medal goes to Dr. Hubert Massey. Dr. Massey is the city's best muralist. His bold, vibrant images can be spotted throughout Metro Detroit and across the state of Michigan. If you've visited Mexican Town, Greek Town, the Cultural Center, the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History, or the Detroit Club, you've encountered the remarkable work of a master artist who is the only commissioned African American fresco artist in the United States. Woo! Dr. Massey is more than an artist. He is an arts teacher working with thousands of students over the years to help them find and hone their passions. His most recent project was the repainting of the Power to the People mural on Lower Woodward. Our next medal goes to George Nanamdi, who is more than an art dealer, gallery owner, and renowned curator and collector. He is educator both professionally and personally, guiding audiences and visitors to his popular Detroit gallery and to a better understanding of art. He told Ace that art has been an inaugural part of my life, and it is so important for us here in Detroit because it is one of the things that binds us to one another and to our very communities, no matter what obstacles arise. Accepting for Mr. Namandi is his daughter, Izibe. Our next medal goes to Marion Hayden, one of the nation's finest proponents of acoustic bass, a Detroit native who was mentored by master trumpeter Marcus Belgrave and began performing jazz at the age of 15. She has performed with such diverse luminaries as Bobby McFerrin, Nancy Wilson, Regina Carter, David Allen Greer, James Carter, and Dorothy Duggan. Rochelle will accept for Marianne, who so wanted to be here but could not, so she sent this quote. I love my city. I'm a hometown girl. I represent Detroit literally wherever I tour, and I talk about our beautiful city and our beautiful people, especially our artists. Through my music, Detroit is a constant muse for me in my creative career. I am so honored. Our next medal goes to Madeline Porter.
Yes.
Who has worked in professional theater for over 45 years as an actress, storyteller, comedian, and creator of one of several one-woman shows. She is a connectivity and engagement manager of Detroit Public Theater and is a member of Actors Equity. She was recently seen in Plowshares Theater Company's A House That Will Not Stand, and she was the winner of the Wild Award for Best Actress in a Lead Role at Detroit Repertory Theater's Gem of the Ocean and Flint Repertory Theater's Wrong River, where she is an artist associate. Madeline's mantra is, what we need is a quality theater by any means necessary. Our final medal goes to Alvin Waddles, who has delighted audiences for decades in over a dozen countries as a pianist, singer, composer, and director. He has combined dazzling technique, fluid versatility, and a unique music style for his performances. But the Detroit native is also beloved for his work in his hometown. Alvin began studying the piano at the age of 8 and continued his studies at the Interlochen Arts Academy and the University of Michigan. Mr. Waddle's engagements as a soloist and featured artist have taken him to a variety of destinations, including Barbados, Beijing, Paris, Barcelona, Ghana, West Africa. He told Ace, I was blessed to realize at a young age that music was where my passion lay. I have never approached art as a competitive endeavor, but rather a journey to find the most authentic expression of the heart. I hope that my work has brightened the world around me and encouraged others to live their gifts without fear of judgment.
I'm so happy. I'm just so happy. I want to take just a minute. My glasses. Oh. I want to make sure I can see them. I have some amazing friends. They are friends like Cynthia and Edsel Ford, who paid for a plaza and statue for Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Jefferson, a Tuskegee Airman, which we unveiled last week. I have friends who do things that we don't even have to talk about, but in addition to those things, they also show up, like Deidre Lambert-Bounds and Sharon Banks and the Betty Brooks, who is the most amazing supporter of the arts that we've had and was a past Detroit Ace honoree. But I would be remiss if not making sure I thank some of my partners in crime at City Hall, because literally you can't do anything without some help. I've told people that. I tell artists that. When you need something, ask. And I know, I'm trying to make sure I can see them, and I see them sitting right there. There's my boss, Crystal Perkins. I just want her to stand. She is the director of the Department of General Services, where the ACE office resides. And next to her is literally one of the people who has given me more advice and more secret stuff than anybody in the world, and that's Ron Brundage, who is the head of the Department of Public Works. And when I tell you, anytime I have a question, it doesn't have to be about Public Works, I will call Ron, and he will never say, "Why are you calling me?" So thank you very much to Ron Brundage as well. I'd also like to recognize any elected officials that are here. I'm looking to see, I know some RSVP, but if they didn't, they're here in spirit. No, okay. And then I also want to thank someone who was the chief storyteller of the city, but we now just tell stories to each other while he's gone on to work for Invest Detroit, and that's Eric Thomas. And I now want to bring up one of my dear friends who, when I called and said, I'm bringing you out of retirement so we can just chat for a few minutes about how important the arts are to Detroit, she didn't say, leave me alone. I'm working with my grandchildren. I'm having a good time. I don't have time. She literally said, absolutely. And that's longtime WDIV TV anchor, beloved anchor for almost, should I say it loud, 40 years, 35 years, 40 years? Okay, 40 years. The one and only Carmen Harlan, who's going to join me on stage.
Oh, how are you? We want to do it here, or you want to do it
We're
over
going to
here?
sit over here, but I need somebody to bring me my phone.
What do you need?
My phone for timing. Thank you.
I'm still directing. How are you? It is so good to get up at this time of the morning. I can't tell you. Only Rochelle. But before we get started, I want all the honorees to stand.
Yes.
Because we need to give them a hand. Well, everybody who received an ACE award, congratulations to you. Keep up the good work. You make us so proud. And I also want to congratulate Rochelle Riley. Because without her, we wouldn't be here today, would we? You know, we sat over coffee the other day talking about what this chat and conversation might be about. And I know when the mayor tapped you to start this new department of arts, education, or education, arts, culture.
All of it. Let me tell you, when I first named it, I said, it's ACE. He said, well, what does that stand for? Arts, culture, and entertainment? I said, no. He said, arts, culture, and education? I said, no. He said, okay, what is that? I said, any E that will get me money. So it's arts, culture, education, energy, entertainment, entrepreneurship.
I love the way you helped me out there. So, I mean, you could have come up with any number of reasons why you couldn't do it, but you said yes. Tell me why you said yes.
So when I decided to leave the newsroom, and I wouldn't talk about it except they made a very public deal out of it and wrote a story about it. The newspaper, the Detroit Free Press, where I was for almost 20 years, loved writing my column, but they were going to lay off 11 people. And I was at that point where I was trying to figure out, am I going to die in this newsroom or do I want to do something else? And I went to the editor and said, if I take a buyout and leave, can you not lay people off? And he said, well, I'm not even entertaining that discussion. I said, well, you have to because I just brought it up. And I wasn't just me. There were two of us that we said, okay, we're going to take the buyout. So they didn't have to lay off any people. And 2 of my former colleagues came up to me in tears and said, thanks for saving my job. So that was number 1, that I knew, okay, I can leave that with a good feeling, but what am I going to do next? So I had lunch with the mayor and said, I need you to find me a building because I want to open the Detroit Black Repertory Theater because we're the largest city with this large a black population without one. He didn't hear anything but the word theater. And he said, you interested in the arts? I said, well, yeah. I'm a photographer and a painter. I sing. As a matter of fact, I sing show tunes on demand. Why? And he said, I need a director of arts and culture because we haven't had one in almost 20 years. And I thought that was heinous.
So what was before ACE?
Marilyn Wheaton, who was the first person I talked to when I said I would do this, it was the Office of Cultural Affairs in the Parks and Recreation Department. And she said that if I wanted any of her past, notes and work and files, that they would be in the basement of one of the rec centers. So I said, well, no, that's not what we're going to be doing this time. So what I decided was we needed to make sure that we, as in we in Detroit, know what people outside of Detroit and in other countries, I've been to 28 countries, there's only 2 where people didn't sing Motown. We need to understand that we have the respect that we keep searching for, begging for, demand. People love Detroit. People know our Detroit artists. They are globally recognized, but we don't pay attention. So that was my job. I said, well, make sure people know that we're badass.
And hey, and haven't you done that so far?
I hope so.
The pandemic sets in. What do you do? Everything comes to a halt. This country shut down. Detroit, like everybody else, had to stay in, but this mission had to continue. How'd you handle that?
Well, the first thing I did, the analogy I used was, because I don't cook. I can cook, I don't cook. But I said, it's like you're ready to bake this cake, you put it in the oven and the electricity goes out. It's like, well, what you going to do? Well, you're going to take the cake batter and do something else with it. So our very first project was a telethon where we got Big Sean and Jeff Daniels and a bunch of people to help raise money for immediate grants for artists, because when you lose your stage, if you're a gig musician, you lose your ability to feed your family. I had artists calling me up saying, we don't know what we're going to do. So that's the first thing we did, and we did $500 grants to everybody who needed them until we ran out of money.
You said it's not a hobby.
No.
People have to make a living.
Art is business. If you're a dancer, you're a small business. If you're a musician, you're a small business until you become a big business. No matter what you do, if that's what you do and if that's your passion, I don't want people to feel that if you're in Detroit and you're an artist, that has to be your side hustle. That is your job. That is a career, and I want to make sure that people have successful careers here in Detroit.
You heard it, didn't you? I told you I drove by Belle Isle because I don't live far from there any number of times trying to get on to see the COVID-19 memorial. How did that evolve? Was that something that you came up with while you were sleeping, while you were talking with best friends, or, I mean, how did you decide we're going to show over 900 people who succumbed to the worst epidemic in our lifetimes?
Well, let me tell you something, Carmen. I haven't slept since 2019, since I started to work for the mayor.
I believe
But it was an assignment because this woman named Cher Koner, who had lost her mother and was one of just hundreds of people who could not see their relative in the hospital. Remember in the early days of the pandemic, they wouldn't even let you go in the hospital? And she said, Mr. Mayor, we need a memorial. So he said, we need a memorial. So we didn't hear anything else about it, but his chief of staff, and that was Alexis Wiley at the time, she said, Rochelle, we need a memorial, so can you come up with something? And I said, okay. And I thought, it can't be anything where you can gather. So we're not going to go to the, Detroit River and to our beautiful riverfront and throw stuff. Several people said, throw origami into the water. So we're not throwing anything in the river. No offense. I mean, it was a lovely idea, but no, we're not going to litter. And literally about 2 weeks after I got the assignment, they canceled the Dream Cruise. We canceled the fireworks. We had to watch them on TV. Remember that?
Right.
Well, they canceled the Dream Cruise. And I said, oh, we can do a cruise. And I said, well, no, I cannot tell DPD that we're going to be cruising the streets because, the traffic. But we have an island. So I said, we'll cruise Belle Island. We'll just go around Belle Isle. And so I told Alexis, we can have a cruise. She said, why would people drive around? I said, okay, I'll get back to you. And I was driving home and saw one of those big billboards for that woman with the blonde hair, the attorney with that name. Y'all know who it is. And I said, oh my God, all of these people who didn't get a last look or a last moment with their loved ones, we can do billboards. So I went back, I said, Alexis, we're going to do billboards. She said, oh my God, that's a great idea. And people will drive around and look at the billboards. I said, yeah, she's, how are you going to keep them in the cars? I'll be back. And it wasn't even a whole week. All of this happened over the span of about 4 weeks. But within a week, I was driving down Jefferson, and I'm from North Carolina. When there's a funeral procession that's coming with the lights on, you pull over and you wait. I pulled over and I watched that funeral procession, and I said, if we have funeral processions, people will not get out of their cars. So I called 11 funeral homes and told them what I wanted to do, and every single one of them said, we are there. We're not going to charge you anything. We're going to bring our hearses, and DPD led 15 funeral processions around the island, and nobody got out of their cars. Nobody disrespected the funeral processions, and they went on. And then the day after, we just did that one day. The day after, we kept the memorial up because so many people wanted to see it. And we kept it up until, it happened on a Monday. We kept it up until that Thursday because this horrible windstorm came in, and my guys down at Belle Isle with the state, Department of Natural Resources runs it now. We own it, but they run it.
Yes.
They said, we think the signs are going to be falling into the river because I said, go get them. Grab them. I'll be right there. So we had to take them down, but we gifted them to each of the families. So they got their billboard. And the most wonderful pictures I got from people are where those billboards were in living room windows, in yards, on signs, where they kept those. So.
How many of you got a chance to see that?
Oh, wow.
That was, oh my goodness. I told you, I drove by many times. The line was so long that I didn't get a chance to get on the island itself, but I know you had to be moved and had to be touched by it.
It's one of the best things that the city could do, and it's one of the most honorable things I could do, and I'm so proud that people appreciated it, and I still get thanks from people to this day.
I bet you do.
Uber drivers, somebody go, aren't you that lady who did the photos out on the island? That kind of thing.
So what's next? I mean, you keep waking people up early in the morning for breakfast, huh?
Well, here's the most important thing. So what you have on your table is my favorite little notebook. I gave everybody one because I love them, because, they fit in your purse. But you have something called the Quint Report, and it is it's a list. It's not a listing. It's actually a magazine that shows you the work we've done over 5 years. We did that with philanthropy. What I want is for everybody in Detroit to now embrace the arts as it should be. That means if the pandemic sets in and New York can raise $112 million in a night, and Seattle puts $1 million into an art fund that day, that Detroit starts doing that same type of thing, that we need to honor our artists and make sure they can have the same work experience here that they have every place else. One of the best things is we have at ARPA dashboard, and when the dashboard was created, arts and culture, they make it sound like it's arts and crafts, which I love. Arts and scraps is here. I'm a scrapbooker. But it was arts and culture at the bottom. It took almost 2 years for me to get them to stop saying arts and culture and call it the creative economy and the creative workforce, and make sure you understand that you need to treat our artists like you treat a restaurant, or you treat a barbershop, or you treat somebody else, that you want to make sure they stay in business. We want them to stay in business. We want them to stay in Detroit. So look at what we did thanks to the Kresge Foundation and the Ford Foundation and some amazing grantees who you'll see on the thank you page. I want everybody in this city to feel like this is how we make sure people stay in Detroit and love Detroit.
And guess what? We're going to keep Rochelle in Detroit as long as we can.
Well,
oh, you can do better than that.
well, I can tell you when I moved to Detroit, I had planned to stay here and write the column for 2 years on my way to Los Angeles to make films. That's what I wanted to do, be a filmmaker. Yeah, Eric, I said it out loud. It's now been 24 years.
Isn't that nice?
That's how much I love Detroit.
It went by quickly, too, didn't it?
Well, so did 5 years. I'm like, somebody said, you've been working for the mayor how long? And I said, yeah, it's been 5 years. But I think the two things, and I told this to the mayor, the most important is to make sure our artists get what they deserve and what they need to thrive. And the second is to make sure this city is never again without an Office of Arts and Culture. As long as something is there, and is there if I leave, then I'm happy, because we don't want what happened with Maryland to happen again, where all of a sudden there's no support for 19 and a half years.
You travel around the country, around the world. What's the biggest misconception people have about the Motor City, Motown, Detroit?
People still think it's 1967. They still think that people burn some cars. They still think that kids burn stuff on Halloween when it wasn't kids. There are all these things that have been attached to Detroit in a way that people don't see Detroit. All you got to do is get people here. I had friends who would not visit me in Detroit, so I finally got them to come. We rented the bed and breakfast over near Comerica. But it wasn't the Inn on Ferry, it was the other one. Mm-hmm. It has 10 gorgeous bedrooms. And That's it. Thank you. And they had a ball. We went to the Motown Museum. We went to a baseball game. We had such fun. And they said, "This is how you live?" I said, "What did you think I was doing?" Everybody in Detroit doesn't live in poverty. Everybody in Detroit doesn't need help. And those of us who can help, we do that just like you do any place else. So if we can get people to see the Detroit where we live, the Detroit where we listen, the Detroit where we have Alvin Wiles to play for Too Hot to Handle, and I was a Too Hot virgin this year. You know, I got to introduce it, and they said, well, if you're new to it, then you're supposed to call yourself a Too Hot virgin. Uh-huh. Oh, I didn't know any better, so I stood right on the stage of the Opera House and said, "Welcome tonight, I'm a Too Hot virgin." And I went, oh, wait, that didn't quite sound like what I meant. But we have brilliant, brilliant people here, and people outside of Detroit know it, so Detroit has to claim it and own it. That's what I want us to do.
And with your help and all the creative people in this city, we're doing it every single day. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Rochelle, so much. I'm so glad to get up with all of you. My goodness, you look so nice in the morning.
So I do want to say this, and this is important for me, because, like I said, this Quint report, I need, where's Kristen Richardson? So I told you all about my team. I want them all to stay. They should all be up here now. Would the whole ACE team stand up? Where's everybody? Are they still downstairs?
Oh, my gosh.
Call downstairs and tell them to come up. Thank you. So here's how ACE started. The mayor said, I've known Mike Duggan for like
a long time.
Okay, let's just say decades. It's like a long time. So when he said, do this, I said, okay, yeah. And what's the job? He said, it doesn't exist. You can make it up. Well, when somebody tells you to make a job up, you just do it. I didn't ask what my budget would be. I didn't ask how large a staff I could have. All those typical things I would have done and have done for years just went out the window. Uh-huh. Well, I serve at the pleasure of the mayor, which means however it needed to be done, it needed to be done. So it started with me, just me, in the planning department. And then it became me with a project manager and an administrative assistant who did nothing except handle my schedule, because when I tell you I get 100 calls a week, I am not lying. Everybody wants me to either be at something, do something, help with something, or teach. And if they're talking about kids, I don't care where it is or what time it is, 7 o'clock in the morning, I will talk to kids. But I want to make sure you meet the team, because in addition to Lacey, who you met, who handled today's program, and I want to give her another hand because she did an amazing job. I want you to meet two graphic artists, and I tell you, I steal people from everywhere. So the mayor has this amazing program called the Mayoral Fellowship. And they bring fellows in, and they pay them, and they teach them, and, you know, put them in different departments. And they said, do you want a mayoral intern, a fellow? And I went, heck yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, when it was time for the fellowship to be over, where is Trinity up? There's Trinity. So when it was time for the fellowship to be over, I said, well, I'm not letting them go. So they had to figure out a way to make that happen, which is why technically we now have a staff of 5, although I only have them temporarily. But I want you to meet them because they have been so amazing. So Kristen Richardson, stand up. I want you all to just pick up the book, the magazine that you have with you. Creativity Takes Courage. Just pick that up, just briefly. Yeah, it won't bite. Just grab it and just take a look. Just flip the pages so you can see. She created this whole document of all the work that was done over 5 years. She is an amazing artist and muralist, and mind you, I am her side hustle. She works for me in this job, but she does amazing commissioned work. So when you look through it and you see all the stuff that's done, and the very first page explains who she is, because I said, where's your thank you page? And there's going to be a little page in the back of the book. I said, no, put you right in the front. Give me a good picture of you. So the one she sent, this pensive artist picture, but I love it. But that's Kristen. And then I want you to meet Louis Bloom, because he's the other half of Bloom Art. He and Kristen work together. Louis, you should stand up. Louis is a muralist who called me up and said, Miss Riley, because I know all the kids in town. They said, Miss Riley, Miss Riley, I want you to write me a reference letter for this job in New York. And I said, no. But I will find you a job so you can stay here and do your art here. So he became a graphic artist for my department. So that's Louis Bloom. And then Trinity Jones, I keep trying to get her to not want to be an attorney. She was a mayoral, she was a mayoral fellow, and let me tell you, Trinity, she will get down and dirty. Trinity will put on some sweats and just whatever she needs to take great pictures, do great reels of artists, but she always looks fabulous. So she called me early this morning and said, Miss Riley, can I bring a change of clothes? And I said, why? She said, well, when we're getting ready, if I get sweaty, I don't want that to interfere with my pictures later. I said, honey, you're going to be taking pictures instead of, worrying about being in pictures, but you'll look gorgeous. We're indoors in air conditioning. You'll be fine. But she was the social media editor. And you know why? Because every child under 25 in America knows more about social media than most of us in this room.
That's true.
She literally took over our social media accounts at Detroit City Arts and moved us from 7,000 to 30,000 just in 2 months. And then the rest of the team is going to come up, but there's Biba Adams, who literally I was allowed to hire because Hudson Weber, one of our sponsors, gave me the money to hire a branding and communications manager, so I didn't have to write all my own press releases, because I write press releases. And then Jack Russo I have because we had an ARPA project. We are transforming 9 arts alleys around the city, regular, dilapidated alleys into arts alleys, including one that is over on, between Lakewood and Newport and Jefferson Chalmers that they've been trying to get done for 10 years. They wanted to take the alley behind their houses and turn it into an arts alley and bike walk because a kid was killed riding their bike in front. So we're doing stuff like that. So Jack Russo, when he gets up, you can give him a hand. He's the arts alley manager.
Okay.
Oh, is Jack there? Where's Jack?
Oh, there he is.
There he is. My sister is a landscape architect, and I can tell you I have learned more about everything having to do with plants, architecture, landscaping, stuff like that from her and Jack and her, than anything I ever wanted to know. But it's fascinating.
I bet.
And who am I forgetting? Did I catch
So
everybody?
you started off with 2, and how many people now are?
Well, technically, we have 7 now,
7?
but I'll be losing most of them soon, which means I'm going to be looking for funding to make sure that I can replace them so we can continue to do the things that you see in the book.
Wonderful. Well, let me tell you, I'm going to put that on my coffee table, and I think everybody else is too. I want to thank you so much for having me and
Thank you.
become a part of this. And I'm so proud and so pleased.
Thank you,
work
my
that you've
friend.
done.
I appreciate that.
All of the
Thank you.
honorees here today.
Please give them another hand. And please, please thank my friend Carmen Harlan, who could have said no but didn't.
That makes 2 of us.
Now, we have a special surprise for you. You have now seen the program and you've met the ACE honorees. Please go and congratulate them. Say hi to my team who worked so hard. But when you go outside, we have a very special surprise for you. But before that, I have a surprise that you're going to see now. Because one of the most important things that we do is work with our young people, our young poets, our young musicians. And again, it's to make sure that we keep them in Detroit. I cannot hire all of them one at a time. We have to make sure that we find the places for them to be. So when I say we're focused on dance, I'll be working with Deborah White Hunt on some stuff that we can't talk about yet, but we're going to make sure that no child can say to me what one said to me when she came to shadow me. And I said, well, what are you going to do? You have a degree in what? She said, I'm at Wayne State University and I studied dance. And when I finish, I'll have to teach because there's no dance company in Detroit. Okay, so now I'm on a mission. So we have to make sure that no kid says that about what they want to do for a living. But one of the most important projects that we're going to leave you with is one that came out of the pandemic when we paired young Detroit poets from Inside Out Literary Arts with DPSCD students, because I always work with DPSCD students, to teach them how to write poetry. And then we partnered them with musicians from the Detroit Symphony Orchestra and let them perform on Orchestra Hall stage, which was a first for some of them. So this, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, is Duets. Since 2020, the world has focused on how the COVID-19 pandemic affected society, workers, health professionals, but for a moment, let's focus on the children. Children who were just as traumatized or more than adults. Detroit ACE and the Kresge Foundation gave young poets a chance to speak, a chance to breathe. We asked poets in the renowned Inside Out Literary Arts program to mentor students in the Detroit Public Schools Community District, so they could join Detroit Symphony Orchestra musicians
to express their pain, their hopes, their thoughts, to take a moment to deal with their feelings, to be free to say what they wanted. And they did, proudly, passionately, boldly. We knew they could. They worked in tandem to create something special for us all.
Like, sir, don't you see I'm trying to rest? Don't save me from nightmares when I'm hoping on dreams. I'm not those damsels in distress you always seem to gravitate towards. So, Mr. Supermarket, I don't need to be saved. It's day 55 now of quarantine. My bed's become my school desk, the kitchen's the cafeteria. Zoom calls are now school halls, the only places I can see the faces of my friends. 11 o'clock's now my first bell. Funny, I'd usually be in math right now, and no more passing times. Now we're just passing time, scrolling through TikToks and Instagram. Our front yards and back ones have become playgrounds. I went to recess for the first time. I haven't done that in years. And no more bus rides home. I always hated those. But now I'm stuck at home. I kind of miss them. Secret routes from class to class are now dissolving in my memory. I tried to save, but files corrupt. School's online now. No need to remember. No more counting down the days to summer break, the sun shining brighter, and the days going faster. Looked outside and winter's melted into spring. Fresh air is being filtered through this new trend, face mask. But that was then, and this is now. Nothing's changed but time and perspective. It's day. Honestly, I lost count. We're still trying to find this new normal. But this isn't online school, it's school online. I don't think folks understand how much harder this is. I float from the kitchen to the basement and then back to my room. There's no more excitement to school, it's just silence. My Wi-Fi drops more than a beat on a rap song, mais c'est la vie, tout doux vivre. At least I'm still doing good in French. We spend hours on end talking to a computer screen, then hours on end staring at our phones. School, homework, and free time, we get more blue light than sun. Car rides to the grocery store feel like field trips, an escape from these walls boxing me in. But I won't complain, because I like the freedom. The chance to sculpt my life as I wish. My stress hasn't dissipated, but I think I handle it better. There's more time to get to know me. I'm hypnotized by life itself now. I'm living in this school days.
That's what we can do.